In the 13th century, European society was in upheaval and full of conflict. When science was still a vague concept, belief in gods was the guide for people's lives. The church at this time was not only a religious center, but also a strong political force. Powerful, had a profound influence on culture, education, and even the nobility at that time. However, opposition factions were also born because of this. This is said to be a group of people with different beliefs about mainstream religion. They secretly spread theories that go against the church, causing division, belief, and was believed to be a serious threat to the unity of the church. Yes, that is heresy. Many persecutions and fierce conflicts occurred at this time. Interrogation, torture, or public execution were the sentences for heretics at that time. Many artifacts believed to be owned by these believers also suffered the same fate and were burned to ashes. However, among those countless burned artifacts, some exceptions still exist and have been preserved to this day. The artifact we want to talk about is a book. And this is not an ordinary book, but a book of giant size with mysterious curses. This book is said to contain all human knowledge, decoding all secrets about God, the kingdom of heaven or the gates of hell, and the mysterious magic written in it. It is believed that the book can give its owner unlimited power, but can also bring disaster and death. Many questions have been raised about the origin of this giant book. Who wrote the book? And what motivated the author to complete such a huge work? Is the author of the book really an ordinary person, or was it left to mankind by a god? Before going deeper into the topic, you can leave a like and subscribe to the channel as a support for the production team, and sincerely thank you for taking the time to watch today's video. And now, we will explore an artifact that existed more than 700 years ago and was considered the most controversial in society at that time. The Leftover Devil's Bible. The book originates from Bohemia, one of the lands in the Czech Republic, and is currently on display at the Royal Library of Sweden. This giant work is always the focus of attention of many tourists who come to admire it because of its popularity. However, what really attracts a large number of onlookers is not its enormous size, but the secrets and myths surrounding its creation. According to later sources, the work is called Codex Gigas. It was written by hand in the early 13th century and has been preserved until now. Gigas weighs nearly 75 kilograms, equivalent to the weight of an adult man, and made from the hides of 150 donkeys combined. One of the most notable features of Gigas is that it features a full-page illustration of a demon. This image depicts a scary character with large horns, 2 tongues, sharp claws, and menacing eyes. No one knows exactly what is inside this book, but the image beacons. This has led many to believe that the book's contents are completely cursed for whoever exclusively owns it. And to this day, rumors about Gigas as part of the book's history attract many people. The attention of scholars, researchers, and occult enthusiasts around the world. In the year 1594, Emperor Rudolf II brought the Codex Gigas to his castle in Prague and considered it a treasure in his collection. The 13th century Emperor Rudolf was considered a complex and contradictory figure in European history. He was also a benevolent emperor with a passion for science and the arts. During his reign, everything seemed to go smoothly and nothing happened, but since then he had Gigas in his collection. This emperor seemed to become a completely different person. He became a despot, selfish, and liked to spend lavishly on his own personal enjoyment. He no longer paid much attention to politics and the people, a job that any monarch would do, whatever needs to be done. Over the years, Rudolph's weakness caused the court to be divided by factions and political intrigues, leading to the depletion of the treasury and causing much instability throughout his empire. Everything Rudolph did pushed his people to the brink of war. In the year 1618, war actually broke out. This war engulfed Europe in a brutal conflict that lasted 30 years. In July, the year 1648, the Swedish army sacked the city of Prague and seized all of Emperor Rudolph's treasure, including the book, as spoils of war. Codex Gigas was later transferred and kept at the Royal Library in Stockholm, Sweden. A few years later, another devastating event continued to take place at the place where the book was kept. A terrible fire suddenly broke out right at the library. Countless historical artifacts were burned, in flames, turning valuable objects into ashes. However, in the midst of this tragic incident, a special phenomenon took place. Codex Gigas is still completely intact, as if nothing had happened. Until now, many researchers believe that this is completely unusual. How can an item made of leather and paper be completely intact like that? Even the autographs on each page of the book are almost unaffected by the high temperature of the fire. Throughout the centuries, Codex Gigas has gone through many ups and downs in history, from the hands of kings to scholars. It has been stolen, burned, buried, but always finds its way back into the world. The person who wrote this book was a Christian monk, who received the highest punishment for daring to break the principles of the church and was considered a heretic. The monk was now sentenced to the highest penalty of immigration. This is said to be the price this monk must pay for his actions against his religion. In the Middle Ages, immigration was considered the most terrible punishment for prisoners. Imprisoned in a cramped, closed room, without sunlight, without food or water, at this time the prisoner was simply left alone until the end of his life. To save himself from imprisonment, this monk asked for one last favor, promising to write a book containing all human wisdom in just one night. But when night fell, he fell into despair because he could not complete the book as committed. At this time, darkness and fear gradually took over the monk's mind. He bowed down and knelt down to beg. But instead of asking God, this monk turned to Satan for help, accepting a deal in exchange for his soul to complete the book on time. After that, he fainted because he was too tired. When he woke up, he saw that right next to him was a neatly written book, more than he imagined. The monk was later spared as promised. He then drew the demon he had encountered on the book as a tribute later. Before you is a page of Codex Gigas, where Latin letters are carefully handwritten on yellowed leather. Each stroke is like an elegant stroke, carrying the mark of the scribe's time and effort. Next to the text are colorful illustrations depicting biblical scenes, mystical creatures, or magical rituals. When examining the contents of the Codex Gigas, one cannot help but be struck by the breathtaking beauty of its intricate details. The special thing in each stroke of the pen is clearly shown in each page of the book, when the arrangement of the letters is extremely meticulously elaborated. The vivid illustrations make the manuscript even more special. In addition to religious texts, the Codex Gigas also contains a wealth of knowledge on a variety of topics. These include historical texts such as Jewish antiquities, Seville encyclopedias, exorcism rituals, and strange medical recipes. This diverse range of content reflected the author's broad interests and knowledge of the period. This great book consisted of 320 pages, but in fact, after being discovered, only 312 pages remained. No one knew what the 8 torn pages contained and why they were torn away. The reason behind this action still has no specific answer. One theory is that these pages were deleted on purpose, and that the missing pages contained forbidden and dangerous knowledge. Other theories suggest a more realistic explanation, saying that these 8 missing pages are just a mistake because they have passed through too many owners or because of past conflicts and wars, which is affected. However, this still does not explain why only specific sites were affected, while the rest of Gigas remained intact. If we take a quick look at the entire page, we can see that the uniformity in each word is said to be absolute throughout this book. The book's large title, small letters, delicate pen strokes, and intricate borders are almost consistent with each other, with no changes in presentation, content layout, or even quality. We can learn two things from this study. One, the Gigas Codex was written entirely by a single person. Two, the perfect unity in the book could only be written in a very short period of time. The problem is this: when experts researched the book and came to the conclusion that this is completely unreasonable, when the amount of content in the book is too much and the details are complicated, if a person who spends all his time writing in a day will need at least 6 years of non-stop work, day and night, to complete it. This hypothesis was later rejected for lack of scientific merit. Below the book, people also found the author's signature inside the work, writing Hermanus Inclusus. This small detail seems to help clarify the origin of the book's rights. Herman is the name of the author in the book. Book, however, Inclusus has the meaning of a terrible punishment or voluntary isolation. If interpreted in English, it is similar to the word recluse. According to this perspective, the scribe may have chosen to isolate himself from society and devote his entire life to this work. This great work almost gave the scientific community a headache during the period of research on it. Many questions surrounding the creation of this book seem to defy all laws of creation. Why is every page in the Codex Gigas so amazingly identical? How could one person write it for 20 years without fluctuations from external factors? Is Codex Gigas really a magical book created by Satan? Are the rumors about special powers true or just myths? Regardless of the reason behind the above rumors, we cannot deny that the truth about Codex Gigas is still a mystery.